All right, folks, I'm going to go live. Got a lot to talk about today. Y'all been asking me to go live occasionally. I've been trying to work that in and getting comfortable with it. Anyway, we're going to talk a lot about these SEC losses that have got everybody distraught. A lot of teams and a lot of fan bases are extremely upset. And on top of that, us folks here in Tennessee, we're waiting to see what Tony Vitello is going to do. He's trying to decide whether he's going to stay at UT, where he's been treated like gold, or if he's going to go to the San Francisco Giants, where he will not be treated like gold. So he's got a tough decision: stay where you're being paid extremely well and treated great, or go somewhere where it's going to be the opposite. You'll still get money, but won't go as far in California. Anyway, let's get into some of these games that are going on or that happened this week that's got everybody upset. We'll start out with Texas A&M and Arkansas. That game wound up being really close, 45-42. I would think that Arkansas should be pretty happy with that. A&M's undefeated. Of course, they live in the 8-4 world of, oh, it's going to collapse at any time. We're going to wind up 8-4. Texas A&M should be thrilled. That's the team, the sleeping giant. I've called him that for 3 years. You never know when they're going to go undefeated at some point because they've got all the talent in the world. They've spent tons of money, and they could be something. Now let's move on to this next game. Ole Miss at Georgia. Now I thought Ole Miss was going to win this ball game. I really did. It was very close. At one point, Ole Miss had a 9-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and then Georgia outscored them 17-0. So here's the thing about Ole Miss. They're not allowed to enjoy this season because you know what Lane's going to do. He's going to flirt. He's going to have a fling. He's going to run off for a weekend, a romantic weekend with Florida. They're going to wine and dine him, get him flowers, take him to a 5-star resort. Meanwhile, Ole Miss is at home taking care of the kids, taking care of all the house and everything while Lane runs around on him. And that's what's going to happen. And so Ole Miss can't enjoy this because he's not going to shut this down. He will not shut down the Florida rumors for even a second. You know he won't. The American people know he won't. That's just what he does. And he'll push this. Now, he could have a raise tomorrow of $11 million if he wanted. He's at 9, I believe, because that's the going rate for coaches these days that are hot. And Penn State would pay him that. Also, Florida would pay him that and more. I think Florida would go to 12, I think, which is a little bit off what they normally do. They usually try to go group of 5 or a coordinator or something like that. That's just been their history. But they can't afford to do that this time because people are too upset with the whole Billy Napier experiment that went horribly wrong. It just is what it is. There's no making them happy without a championship. And they feel like Lane is their guy. And that's all they're talking. Believe me when I tell you that it's Lane first, Lane second, Lane third. Then they'll consider another coach after that, which would be probably Alex Golish. And then there's talk of Marcus Freeman. He's not leaving Notre Dame. That'll just get him a raise if he talks to him. And there's a couple of other ones out there. The fella from the Louisville head coach is a possibility, definitely. Auburn, and then we'll talk about Auburn here in a minute. A lot of people are discussing Auburn. Auburn actually had Lane hired verbally, but he backed out on him. So Auburn's going to maybe be looking for a coach too. And Auburn's this close of being a great football program, but because Hugh is so incredibly stupid and stubborn and refuses to pay the money that's necessary to go get a great quarterback, or just go get an average quarterback. How about go get somebody that's proven they can complete a pass? I mean, God, this guy, here's Hugh.
Are you stupid or something?
He is. He's stupid or something. They could be 7. They should be 7-0 right now, undefeated. If they had Joey Aguilar if they had any quality, if they had Diego Pavia, who wanted to go to Auburn, by the way, wanted to go to Auburn, and Hugh said, nope, not good enough. You don't fit my system. If they had Diego, they'd be 7-0. They got a great defense, but Hugh is he's Henry Bennett, Mr. Bad Luck. So I don't know what Auburn can really do at this point. They're just going to have to suffer through this. They owe him something like $26 million. They don't want to pay it. They know the team is good. They just can't win because, you know, the quarterback only touches the ball every single time. Every single time. It's kind of an important position, Hugh. But Hugh is too stubborn. All right, so that's going on. Then you've got South Carolina. Let's take a look, see at what South Carolina did. Let me pull this up. We'll go back to some of these other ones, but I want to talk about South Carolina for a minute. Oklahoma just absolutely beat South Carolina into the ground. And South Carolina's offensive line, and I'll get to Tennessee, don't worry. South Carolina's offensive line, it looked like, you know, those what are those folks called that fight the bulls and they got a red cape? That's what the offensive line at South Carolina looks like. Ole, and just lets them run through. And Lenore Sellers if they didn't have a mobile quarterback, I don't know what South Carolina would do. They'd have to have an ambulance there. They'd have to have multiple ambulances so they could go through the quarterbacks. I mean, only because he can run like the wind and is incredibly strong. I mean, he should have been sacked 100 times in that ball game. Oklahoma's front seven is great, but they're not that good. I mean, South Carolina could at least trip them. I mean, couldn't you just stick your foot out there and trip them and slow them down? Ugh. Well, that's not fair at all there. Art Cheeks, Manning. Why could Nico beat Nico didn't beat Alabama. We didn't score a point in the first half against Alabama last year. If you'll remember, it was Jermod McCoy saving our bacon in the end zone, and a great defense is what won that ball game. And then Nico played better in the second half, but he wasn't worth a crap in the first half. We were scoring points. You know, we did have that freak 14-point turnaround in that game, which I'll get into in a minute. But anyway, Nico played like crap yesterday. They won the ball game, though. They wound up winning. But he threw interceptions. He threw for nothing, no yards. We might look at that in a second. But, yeah, I don't know what South Carolina can do without – they fired their offensive line coach a week before playing Oklahoma, and it didn't help. It didn't help at all, which tells me they just must not have the players on that offensive line, or they haven't been coached up. Because I know they've got some talent on the offensive line, but froze up for a second. I'm back. It happens. That's the thing about streaming. Oh, I was streaming. Was it yesterday? I was streaming yesterday, and we had a horrible storm come through, and it knocked all the power out all over this area within about a mile. And it just went to a black screen, and I could not end the stream. And I didn't even realize that at the time. So there was about 10 minutes of just blackout right there. And I finally got on my phone and was able to end the stream that way. But streaming it's stressful, okay? And you have to learn on the job. When you're streaming, there's things you don't know is going to happen that you've never dealt with before, and you've got to just learn on the fly, and it's very frustrating. Makes you look stupid. I didn't look real smart yesterday, but anyway, it happens. Now I know what to do if that happens again. But I'm not sure what South Carolina – look, if you can't protect Lenora Sellers, you can't protect anybody. I mean, he's the best dual threat. He's the fastest dual threat quarterback in the country. He's the most elusive, easily the strongest quarterback. And you can't protect him? That means you can't protect anybody. You couldn't protect Michael Vick with that offensive line. So I don't know what you do. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that. Yeah, y'all hit the thumbs up if you would. That helps the video if you haven't already done it. So I look at South Carolina's situation. Let's see, let me pull them back up. and we'll see where they're at here. Yeah, South Carolina. What are they? 3-4, I think. Or are they at 2-5? I'd pull it up, but it'll take me off this screen. I don't want to do that because I'm going down this list here. And I'm going to get to Tennessee and Alabama. Don't you worry. I want to talk about LSU and Vanderbilt for a minute. Wow. Diego Pavia is the real deal. I mean, I watched a lot of that game yesterday, a bunch of it. He not only is he accurate around 70%, but he can run he's quick and elusive. He is a pain in the butt. They've lost one ball game, folks. They're 6-1? 6-1. And they could have beaten Alabama. They absolutely, and that was at Tuscaloosa. You know, beating Bama down there is not easy, but that team could have beaten them. I don't know what we're going to do with old Vandy. There's something. Yeah, that end zone. I know. I'll get into the Tennessee thing. Don't worry about that. Well, I'm going to talk about that play too. There's a couple things I was not happy about that play, so don't worry. We're going to get into that. But LSU now, they got Brian Kelly. He's got this ridiculous contract that's, I think it's basically guaranteed. It was like a 10-year deal for around $100 million. So you can't fire him. You'd owe him like $50 million plus. They've got 2 losses now, so they're really upset. They are extremely upset in LSU land. They don't like him. He came down there and he faked his accent, did the whole Louisiana accent crap, which is always ridiculous. You can't pretend to be Cajun. That doesn't work. You're either Cajun or you're not. There's no in between. You could live down there for 20 or 30 years and pull it off, but you're not going to pull it off in a day, which he tried to do. I don't know why people do that. It's the most inauthentic thing you can, and it gets you off to a bad start. You might as well just go down there and say, look, this is who I am. This is who you hired, and I'm going to be that way. But, he tried. So LSU's extremely unhappy today. Auburn's I'm going to get into Kentucky too. Oh man, Kentucky. Let's look at Kentucky here, since I'm in the mood to talk about them right this second. Okay. I had a feeling. I almost took them with the points. I came really close because Kentucky likes to do this every year. They like to give a team a good game. Now, Texas, I don't know that Arch Manning's all that in a bag of chips. He has not looked good to me at all. The biggest problem I see with Arch is he does not throw with anticipation. He waits for the guy to get open. We saw that with at Tennessee, Joe Milton and Nico. Joe and Nico, they wanted to wait until the guy was open. You can't do that. You've got to throw with anticipation. And Arch is doing the same thing. Now, maybe over time, he'll get out of that. But until he does, he's going to get sacked a lot. And he's going to look like crap because he doesn't trust. I don't know whether he doesn't trust how he's read the defense or whether he doesn't have the confidence or what it is. And, remember, he was a 5-star out of high school. A lot of the reason was because of his last name, and he was playing at a very small high school. It was really hard to know how good this guy really was. Very difficult. So I'm not sold on Arch or Texas because of that. Texas has as much talent as anybody in the country. No question about that. But I'm not sold on them. Just not sold on them. So it's going to get a little bit tough. Now, let's discuss Kentucky now that we're into Kentucky here a little bit. Yeah, they gave Texas a good game. They've not won. When's the last time they won an SEC game? I mean, he's starting to compete with the FSU guy that hasn't won an ACC game in over a year. Crap, I can't believe I was just talking about him. Anyway, that's what Stoops is. He's not getting it done. What was he, 1-7 last year in the SEC, I think? He's not won a game in the SEC this year. I'll pull up the standings here in a minute. But Kentucky is really struggling. And they'll do that. Like I say, they'll pull up a game and they'll scare somebody like they did Georgia. Was it Georgia last year? And they beat Ole Miss last year. They might get one win this year. Hopefully it's not my Tennessee VOLS. We don't need anything crazy like that happening. But He might win one this year. They can't let him go because they owe him $36 million. He's made it clear he will not take a discount. He's not leaving, not without all his money. So Kentucky's in a tough spot. They won't give him the NIL money that he wants because they spent $20 million, reportedly, $20 million on their basketball roster this year, which means they spent most of the money that they had on basketball. How are you going to make that work when every single team spends at least 15 on football? I mean, Mississippi State spent 15 as the report, and that's why Mississippi State's pretty good this year. They went out in the portal and spent a bunch of money. You can't spend 5, which is probably what Kentucky spent on football, and everybody else is spending 15 to 20. That won't work. I mean, they lost their best players off last year's team. All their speed's gone, all of that. And they had to go out and get a 3-star quarterback from Incarnate Word, who was it Zach Calzada? Nobody's ever heard of the guy. I don't know. He played, supposedly was at Texas A&M for a season until he left and went to Incarnate Word. But it's hard to blame Stoops because it's a basketball school and they won't spend money. So this is always.
It's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, what's he supposed to do, folks? What's he supposed to do? I really don't know. Kentucky versus no. Kentucky's not going to a bowl game. I think they are the worst team in the SEC. I'm afraid. He's been he knows how to coach. Let's get it straight. He knows how to coach defense. He's a solid coach, but he cannot coach without the ingredients. It's like a chef can only do so much if you give him, low quality ingredients. He's not going to make the best cake in the world. And I think that's where Stoops is. There's only so much he can do, folks. I think he's and it's in a bad marriage because once he did the Lane Kiffin deal. So he went and had an affair with Texas A&M, ran off for the weekend, and spent all the family's money, spent a bunch of money. And Kentucky, I guess the wife, found the credit card receipts. It's like, what's this $700 for the 4 Seasons down in Texas? Oh, you went out and spent $200 on dinner. Yeah. Yeah, where's that come from, Mark? Yeah, he's down there fooling around with A&M, getting ready to leave Kentucky. And then A&M decided, he's not all that in a bag of chips. So dumped him. And then he had to go back to the wife, and the wife was not happy, sitting there with the rolling pin ready to knock him over the head. So you've got a bad marriage at Kentucky. Kentucky blames him for having an affair with A&M, and he's blaming the wife for not supporting him enough. The old story, which there's some truth to both of those sides of the story. But because he flirted with Texas A&M, Kentucky gave him a long-term contract for a lot of money to keep him because he was coming off a good season. And now they're stuck. They're stuck in a very unhappy marriage, and it's not going to work. So they're going to suffer through this for the next, I guess, 3 or 4 years with very poor records and just focus on basketball because that's all you can do. All right, now we're going to talk about the game that I know some of y'all are definitely wanting to hear about or talk about, and that's going to be this one. Alabama beating up on Tennessee in a ball game that really was a pretty tight ball game. When you look at the yardage and all that, Tennessee had over 400 yards total offense. I believe Alabama was under 400. So it was a pretty equal game as far as that's concerned. There was 2 big things. You had the 14-point swing where there was 9 seconds left. We're going to talk about why there was only 9 seconds left. And we went into this formation, and it was a running formation. It was a bunched formation that you would run out of. But there was only 9 seconds left. 9 seconds. And you have no timeouts left. Okay. Everybody on the planet knew you had to throw the ball. You had to throw the ball. That way, if it's incomplete, you can kick a field goal and you get points. If you complete the pass, you get a touchdown. If you run the ball, they stop you. The time runs out. You can't spike the ball. You certainly can't kick a field goal. So everybody in the world knew what you were going to do. I expected Tennessee to come out in a spread formation. I would want those cornerbacks and the defensive backs with those good hands that are really fast. I'd want them as far away from the football as I could get them for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I wouldn't have tried to trick them on the running unless I had Joey run. Well, Joey had been injured. Joey got his neck hurt, so he's not going to run. Okay, so now you really are going to have to pass the ball unless you do a draw play and you just risk it all and say, I'm either getting 7 points, I'm going to trick the defense, or I get nothing. Okay? Of course, you're not going to have a pick six. But instead, we get in a bunched run formation, heavy formation, 2 tight ends, all of that. And we do we throw the ball. Well, if I'm on the defense and I'm a cornerback, I know that's what you're going to do. When I see that formation, I'm going, oh, you think I'm stupid? You think I think you're going to run the ball? No, I know you're not going to run the ball, Tennessee. I know you're not. You know how I know? Because I'm smart. I played a lot of football, and I know with 9 seconds and no timeouts, you're going to throw the ball. So what did we do? We've got a tight end running back. We put him out there, and one of them sneaks off. And, oh, you think I'm going to fall for that? I'm the cornerback at Alabama. I'm not going to fall for that. Oh, you're going to throw it. Okay, go ahead and throw it. Go right ahead, Joey. Throw that ball. Snap. It's mine now, and I'm gone. Of course, I couldn't believe that I'm so upset about that formation because I was like, oh, this could be dangerous. And as soon as he threw the ball, I saw the Alabama guys. You could see his eyes get about this big. And I was like, oh, my God. And he grabbed that ball, and the whole time I'm thinking, tackle him. First, I thought, please drop it. Then I was like, okay, we got to tackle him and at least not have a 14-point turnaround. And we had a guy had an angle on him, and he did a little stutter step, and somehow we didn't tackle him. And it was the worst scenario imaginable, a 14-point turnaround like that. And Tennessee in the second half tried to make a game out of it. I will give them credit because it would have been real easy to fold the tents right there. You think you're going to go into the half 2 down, and you go into it 16 down, and Alabama gets the ball first and all that crap. It could have been an absolute nightmare. So I'm really upset about that play. But other than that, I thought Tennessee played pretty darn well down there. Like I said, we outgained them. We played pretty much even with them. Now, a lot of things happened in that game because you're at Tuscaloosa. The crowd noise was intense. We had a lot of false starts because of that, and that led to a lot of crap. That led also to that the safety. You know, we don't have those false starts. We're not backed up like we were. But unfortunately, those things happen when you can't hear what's going on. You can't hear the quarterback. You just can't hear anything. That's why we win so much at Neyland. You know, there's a reason why Josh Heupel's won at over a 90% level at Neyland, because we're so loud. I mean, playing at Neyland's a nightmare. Ask anybody that's played there. Only Georgia's had any success against us there. So that was we went into the game as a 7.5 to 9.5 point underdog, depending on where you looked at. And we played them pretty even. Unfortunately, we had a terrible thing happen. And what I would have done, I would have liked to have seen Heupel call a timeout with 36 seconds left. Instead, he tried to run a play. And I was like, as soon as we got down there, I was like, call that timeout. Then you got 36 seconds. You got plenty of time to figure out what you're going to do. But he didn't do that. He decided to go fast. I thought maybe he thought he'd catch Alabama off guard. But I would have called the timeout because there was so limited time. And I don't want to be in a situation where exactly where we were, where you had to choose. Okay, if I run, I don't get any points. If I throw, I do. But then he didn't set up in a throw formation. That's the first time I've been really disappointed in a Heupel call. Normally, he's great on offensive calls. I mean, normally he's fantastic. I mean, look, they're the top offense in the country just about. I mean, this game didn't help them any, but prior to that, they were right there. So his offense is fine. Joey is fine. He could have made a better throw there, but for the rest of the game, he was excellent, and he played hurt. Dude got his neck wrenched. I mean, he's a tough dude. So I think other than that, I was fine with the game other than the one crazy play. I knew it was going to be a nightmare down there. Tuscaloosa have been waiting for us. We beat them 2 out of the last 3 years, folks. You don't think they know that? They couldn't wait for us to come down there and whoop and holler, and they did. You know, give them credit. That's exactly what they should have done. They should have made it as hard on us as possible, and they did. So, is what it is. They've got a loss too, folks. So, we're still got a chance to get in the playoff, but we can't lose anymore. We cannot lose another ball game. We got to win every game from now on, and it's not going to be easy. We still got Oklahoma. Fortunately, that's at home. We still got to play Vanderbilt. We got Kentucky next weekend. We got to take care of business there. I think we will. I think we'll take care of Kentucky and the rest of those games. Then we're off. We've got an off week, and then we play New Mexico State, which that's 2 weeks to get people healthy. Maybe Jermod McCoy can come back at some point. That's weird to have New Mexico State after an off week. You normally want a big-time team after an off week. But anyway, it kind of is what it is. Stoops be better at Florida. Talking about Bob Stoops or Mark Stoops. Yeah, he'd be better at Florida, but they're not going to get him. No. Big Orange Garage, nope. Thank you for the 2. No, Stoops is not going to Florida, but he would be better there. Yeah, of course he would, because they care about football big time. Kentucky cares about basketball. They love basketball. Look, folks, we don't even understand how much they love basketball. And I'm going to talk about the Tony Vitello here in a minute, give you an update on all that too. But I wanted to talk about football first. But because I know a lot of y'all are thinking about Vitello. And for the folks that aren't Tennessee fans that are watching this, we have a great baseball coach that won a national title for us. And he may be going to the San Francisco Giants, which I think is the dumbest thing in the world. All because he wants to be, I guess, the first guy from college baseball to do that. But there's 100 reasons not to, and I'll get into that. Don't worry. But I want to finish up on football before I talk about that and give you the update. All right, so let's get back into the ball here. Let's see, another game. Missouri at Auburn. Oh, gosh. Auburn, Missouri. First of all, of course, I've talked about how unlucky Auburn is, and, of course, we had our bad luck too. But Auburn just finds ways to lose. They really do. They've lost in overtime. They lose. Every overtime they lose. And, again, it's because they don't have a quarterback. You know, they got Jackson Arnold, who I'm sure he's a swell fella. But remember, he's a professional. He's probably making 7 figures down there to play like he's playing. He doesn't throw the ball well. Of course, they had Peyton Thorne for 2 years. Auburn's a good team other than the one position, and the one position really matters. At some point, you're going to have to put Deuce Knight in there. He's not ready. He's a true freshman, but he was a 5-star. He's going to be a good quarterback, I believe. I've watched him play in high school. He's very smooth out there. He's not going to be able to read these defenses yet. It takes time. You can't really throw a true freshman out there and expect a lot out of him. I mean, it just doesn't work anymore, because what happens is the defense fools them, tricks them, disguises their the defensive positions they're in, and just tricks the crap out of them. And they're 18 years old. They don't know, and everything's so fast. It just takes some time. So, but by the end of the year, you may have to at least put him out there, because Jackson Arnold's not the answer. You're now 3-4. You're 3-4 and could easily be 7-0. Every game you've lost, had you had good quality quarterback play, you win. So it is what it is. Very, very poor. Let's see what y'all are thinking. What do you think about, of course, Billy Napier got fired. We knew it was coming. I wasn't sure after they but the way they beat Mississippi State was it got fluky there at the end with that interception that the quarterback threw. I mean, they needed to get rid of him. That was pretty obvious. The fan base is sick of him. And they paid him his $20 million. I think he got to pay him $10 million in the first 30 days. So don't feel sorry for Billy Napier. He's going to go back up there to Chattanooga way, where I guess that's where he's from. He'll buy him a mansion. He probably already lives in a mansion. And he can sell it. He can sell the one down there in Florida. It's probably worth double what he paid for it. So he's set for life. He'll have made his $50 million and be golden and get $20 million for not coaching. Yeah, he knew he was gone. He may have already been told, honestly. He may have already known because he was talking past tense a little bit, or was kind of, he could tell he had one foot out the door. He needed to go. He had to be miserable. I mean, here's the thing. Think of it this way. He knew he was going to get the money no matter what. And he's got a fan base that can't stand him. I mean, I'm telling you, they wanted him out of there so bad. And it wasn't anything personal. It's just that's how they are about football. They just can't take it. And I can understand that. Look, Tennessee's that way. You saw how we were with Butch and Dooley and Jeremy. We just can't tolerate that crap. So I think it's best for everybody that he's gone. And it's not best for Ole Miss. Ole Miss season's probably going to get run by this, which the fan base does not deserve that at Ole Miss. They've treated Lane like gold. But Lane doesn't really care about that down deep. I still think he's going to creak them. I don't care if they offer him 11. I think he was either going to go to Florida or Alabama. Alabama should have taken a look at him last year. They'd probably be in a little better situation, but DeBoer's a good coach. I think they'll be fine. That was a good hire too. There was nothing wrong with the Kalen DeBoer hire. Nothing. But they probably should have taken a harder look at Lane, because Lane would have jumped for Alabama. And I think he'll jump for Florida. Now, maybe he'll fool me. I'll tell you what, if he doesn't go to Florida this time, I might quit calling him a job jumper. I might. I'm not making any guarantees, because you know how I feel about Lane. I am not a fan. Not a fan of Lane after what he did to us. But we'll see. Let me see. Somebody got a super chat I need to put in here. Let's see. Florida could be at us. The cardboard cutout of Steve Spurrier. Oh, gosh, yeah. Well, he's definitely Steve Spurrier 2.0, which that's the one, if you want to look at it glass half full, let's say you don't want Lane there because you think he's a better coach than Billy Napier, because he is. He could, we could put a cardboard cutout of Steve Spurrier. It's going to be the same thing. Spurrier was more quick-witted. Thank you, Ben. He was funnier and more quick-witted. Lane is a little bit – he puts out some pretty good tweets, but he's a little bit strange. He's not comfortable in his own skin, kind of. If you've ever seen him interviewed, he's a terrible interview. He kind of he doesn't talk clearly. He just kind of – and it's always weird. He's a bit of an odd duck, honestly, but he's a good offensive-minded coach. And he can be funny at times, and he's better on social media because you can make your own delivery in your head. Now, if he says it like in front of a camera, it's usually not very good. But if he does it like in a tweet, you're like, oh, well, that's entertaining. That's funny. But he's not he's just a little, have you not noticed he's a little bit different? He's a bit of an odd duck. Yeah, you never trust Lane. You never trust him. Look what he's just done it to too many teams. And like I said, we'll find out, but we won't find out until he's out of either in the playoff and done, or he's out of the playoffs and maybe they got to lose 3 ball games. He's only lost 1, and he's using his backup quarterback, and that guy looks great. So, I mean, crap, they darn near beat Georgia at Georgia, which is very hard. I mean, that's hard to do. When's the last time somebody beat Georgia? I guess it's Alabama this year. They managed to beat them somehow. That's like the only loss they've had in 5 years down there. Florida State, how are they 3-4? Mike Norvell. I couldn't think of his name. You ever just get blocked? Mike Norvell. They want rid of him. Florida wants rid of every coach. I think Alex Golesh would be a great hire for them as well. Florida should look hard at Alex Golesh. So should Florida State. But Florida State's got to pay Norvell $60 million. I don't think Florida State's got that kind of money to throw around. Texas A&M did it, but they got the oil money. Penn State, see, here's the thing about Penn State that a lot of people don't realize. I don't think they're going to have to pay $50 million. And here's why. As soon as James Franklin takes another job, which he's already, if you saw him on ESPN, he's already putting his name out there of, hey, we're ready to go. Just give me a call. His contract states that he has to look for another job. It also states that whatever he makes at that new job comes off what Penn State has to owe him. So what he might do, let's say he takes a Virginia Tech job, okay? If I'm him, I'd go, okay, Virginia Tech, what were you going to pay, like $6 million? I'll do it for $3 million. And I'll let Penn State pay me another $5.5 million every year. I'll give you a 50% discount. Not unlike what our coach did to us. If you'll remember, Butch Jones, God, having a brain fart again. Butch Jones worked for Alabama for $36,000 a year because there was an offset in our contract. And he was like, no, I want Tennessee to pay every dime they owe me, because he left bitter. Butch left very bitter. He did not want to leave Tennessee. He loved that job. It's one of the reasons I'm not mad at Butch Jones. He didn't want to leave, and he loved being here. He was not a great coach, but at least his heart was in it. I know if somebody will put me in the comments, they'll kill me over that. But, hey, at least he wanted to be here. Some of these coaches are just here for the money, and they don't give a crap. Like, see, I don't think Dooley ever cared. I don't think he cared a bit. All right. Well, here's an Alabama person asking about, okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about Tony. Let me give you an update on Tony. Let me remove this. And I'll show you what the update is on him. And this is kind of interesting. The Tony Vitella thing has been very odd. He was spotted at Lindsey Nelson today, okay? Let me pull that up right there. Yeah, at the scrimmage. So he's there coaching at Tennessee right now, and he was there with them Sunday, okay? So he's still at Tennessee right now. He's not left or done anything like that. Now, there's a lot of these Giants fans that are saying, well, they'll announce it tomorrow because of the playoffs. And then we can talk about some other things here. Talks about he's close to the vest, not going to tip his hand. I think it's good that I think the longer this goes, the better this is for Tennessee, because now I'm going to talk about Tony for a minute here. The only reason he's considering this, the only reason is because he wants to be the first guy to leave college baseball and become a baseball manager in the major leagues and be successful. Okay. It just hasn't happened for whatever reason. Nobody's really pulled it off, and he wants to be the first. That's not a good reason fundamentally to leave a perfect situation that you're in right now. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give him some grief about something, and he deserves this grief. I'm going to pull this up, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I show it to you. It's this one right here. Okay. Let's see if y'all remember this with Mr. Tony V.
Make the decision. You're either a Vol or you're not, through thick and thin. Make the decision. You're either a Vol or you're not, through thick and thin.
Make the decision. You're either all Vol or you're not, through thick and thin. Hey, Tony. Tony. Hey, Tony. Tony. Knoxville. Call him Knoxville. Remember, that was a little over a year ago, folks. A little over a year. That kind of ticks me off a little bit. Okay, Tony? Here's the other. There's so many dumb reasons for doing this. He's probably going to get paid $4 to $5 million to be the manager. Okay, let's take the high end of that. Well, he's going to pay 14% state sales tax in California. That's about $700,000-800,000 bucks. I haven't done the math on the 5-year. It's $560 for 4, I believe. Anyway, so you've got all that money going out. All right. So really, if it's 5, it's 4. Okay. Now, let's talk about living in California. Cost of living's double there. For example, property tax. You know what property tax is on the type of house he's going to live in? $50,000 a year. In Knox County, it's about 3 or 4. Now let's talk about, you want to drive a nice car? See, he's got a Ferrari, by the way. Tony drives a Ferrari. Well, what they do to get your tag out there, they tax you on a percentage of the value of that car every year. In Tennessee, you know what it costs? About $25 for a tag every year. You know what it costs in California for a car like he drives? $2,000 a year. That's just little things that add up over time that you're going to pay through the nose So if you're making $5 million in California, that's the equivalent to making about $3 million in Tennessee. No state income tax, very low cost of living compared to California. I mean, hell, even gas is double out there. When you fill that Ferrari full of premium, you're going to pay $6-7 a gallon instead of about $3.50 here for that premium. Now, here's the other thing. Oh, well, he hadn't been treated right here. Really? He's the highest paid coach in the country at $3 million. I think the guy that won the Natty last year might be at 3.1 now, but he was made the highest paid coach in the country. Number one, $3 million a year to coach baseball, which is amazing in college. Number two, Tennessee is spending $100 million on a stadium to make him happy because we care about our baseball. We're spending a ton of money. It's a gorgeous stadium. And oh, by the way, it's sold out every time. It's sold out every time. It's going to have 8,000 in there going nuts. And this is a rabid fan base for baseball. My brother bought tickets over there, and those tickets have tripled in cost, by the way. He loves baseball. Huge Tony V fan. So is Chilmont. My mother's upset. She's doing the Tony V watch on X. Like, God, is he really going to leave? It's like, and she thinks he's great. So he's been treated like gold, absolute gold. So when somebody tells me, well, then Danny White didn't give him all the NIL he wanted. Look, Danny's got a job to do. He's got to take care of football. He's got to take care of basketball, men's baseball, and women's basketball. He's got 4 programs to take care of. He can't give everybody all the NIL money. All right. But when it comes to Tony getting everything he wanted, he got it. Okay. And he's killing it in recruiting. He's had the #1 recruiting class last couple of years. He's got plenty of NIL money for what he needs. He's doing great. He's got plenty of scholarships. He's got as much as any baseball program out there. I mean, you can't just go, well, I'm going to give $20 million to baseball and football and basketball gets nothing. That's insane. Okay. It doesn't work that way. So he has been treated like gold. The fan base, oh my gosh, the fan base. There's not a fan base out there that has treated a baseball coach anywhere close to as good as Tennessee has. Knoxville has embraced him on a level I can't even explain. He is the mayor of Knoxville. Everywhere he goes, he is the most popular celebrity on the planet. I mean, you're talking, if it was 1985, he's Don Johnson. Okay. All right. He's the biggest thing out there. So what more do you want? Now, here's what's going to happen in when you go to the Giants and you're playing Major League. And I haven't even told you the worst part of this. Well, I'll just go in right now. Never bury the lead. You coach 56 games in college baseball, 56 games. How many do you coach in major leagues? Over 160. Over 160. So you're going to live outside of a suit. You're going to live out of a suitcase for 3/4 of the year, 9 months. You're going to live out of a suitcase instead of 56 games here at Tennessee, where you're going to work a couple of 3 months and then you're recruiting and doing other things the rest of the time. In major leagues, you're on the road. You are planes, trains, and automobiles. You live in a plane. You live in a hotel room. You're not going to have you won't have a very good life because all you're going to do is either be in an airport, on an airline, or you're going to be in a hotel room with a bunch of dudes. All right? You're not going to have a good family life. You're going to have any of that, okay? Because you're going to live baseball 24/7 in Major League. All right? When you go to San Francisco, some fancy restaurant, nobody's going to give a crap who you are. They don't care about you. You're nothing out there in California land. You're not a celebrity out there. You're the baseball coach. Here's the other thing. You're going to be the least paid guy in the dugout. You're going to make $4 or $5 million a year. Do you know what the highest paid guy is at San Francisco? Matt Chapman at $26 million. You know what the second highest paid guy is? $25 million a year. You know what the third is? $23 million. Fourth guy's $21 million. And you're going to tell them what to do, and you're going to get them all pumped up. You guys better get out there and run. You know what they're going to do? They're going to go, really? You make $4 or $5 million a year, and I'm making 26, and you're going to tell me what to do? Don't worry, buddy. I'll go out there and do my job. I'll hit that ball out of the stadium occasionally, and everything's going to be fine. And if you think you're going to get me worked up, you're crazy. And here's the other thing. He's in total control at Tennessee. He can go get whatever player he wants. He can do whatever he wants. I mean, he's got carte blanche at Tennessee. When he goes to the San Francisco Giants, let me tell you what it's going to be. There's a GM there. The GM's job is to get the players. And GMs are very interesting about that. They don't like to have somebody waltz in and take their job from them. They don't like it. Okay? And guess who owns the Giants? A billionaire. You're going to go in and tell that billionaire anything? You're going, rich people don't work that way. They tell you what to do because they're paying you. You don't walk in and go, oh, well, this is what we're going to do, and I'm in control. And boy, that billionaire is going to say, what world do you live in, kid? He's going to pat him on the head and say, that's cute. You're cute. No, you'll do as I tell you to do. And here's your budget. Here's what you're going to do. And the GM's going to pick out the players, and you're going to manage them. And that's how it works in the major leagues. At Tennessee, you're the grand poobah. You're wearing the crown. You are the king. They had a no kings rally. They're going to have a no kings rally. You're the king. And you're going to leave a perfect situation where you're the most popular guy in town. You've got a perfect situation. You're the highest paid guy in the country. You've got low cost of living. You're working 56 games instead of 165 or whatever the crap it is. It's over 100. I think it's 161. And you're going to triple your workload and work for the same amount of money and basically be just a cog. You're going to be a cog in the system. All right. You're the lowest paid guy in the dugout. Lowest paid guy in the dugout, other than maybe there'll be a utility player that makes a little less than you. Maybe he bounces around from the minors to the majors. He might be making $1 or $2 million. And you're going to leave the land of milk and honey for that? Absolutely not. If I was his agent, I would sit him down and say, you've lost your mind if you're even considering this. If you're even considering this, tell the Giants, thanks. I'm very flattered. It's awesome to be considered as a manager of the major leagues. That means I'm doing really well in college, but I can't leave this situation. Now let's talk about the leak, because I'm ticked off about the leak. That leak came from one of two places, because who are the only people that could have known that he was this close to signing? There are two groups that could have known: his agent or the Giants. Okay. Tennessee had there's no way we could have known that. Tennessee, Danny White, these folks, there's no way they could have known that. All right. Because unless you've got a cell phone that Tennessee can break, unless it's espionage, no, there's no way they could have known. So who leaked it? Was it the Giants or was it your agent? It was one of the two. Okay. So if your agent did it, he just got the entire town of Knoxville mad and upset and hurt. Okay. And people are going to, even if you stay, people are going to remember that. Okay. They're going to remember you went and flirted. Why don't coaches understand this? Why don't they understand fan bases at all? Why don't they? I don't think it's about money for him, by the way, but even if you're trying to negotiate for a little bit more money, when you're making that kind of money, is it worth giving up that bond you have with the fan base? It's not. It's just not. So if it's your agent, it's terrible move on his part. If it's the Giants, what did they just show you, Tony? They showed you they don't care about you. They just showed you when it comes down to it, look, this is just a job to them. This is just a hire to them. Okay. I promise you, the billionaire owners out there and the GM and all that, it's just a hire. You're on their list. You're a list of 15 guys and you're a sexy hire right now. And they're like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool to get a college guy in here. He won a natty 2 years ago. It'd be kind of fun. Might get the fan base a little bit excited. This would be kind of cool. I got a couple of your players on the team. They love you. This might be kind of cool. Okay. Yeah. Let's see if we can hire this guy. If not, let me tell you what they're going to do. They're going to turn the page and they're going to go to the next guy, and they're going to be fine either way. I promise you, the Giant fans aren't out there going, oh, we're going to get Tony. Oh my God, they don't even know who you are hardly. They don't really know who you are. They don't. They barely, This is not a good idea. Tony, don't do this. Just don't. I'm giving you great. This is the advice I would have given Lane Kiffin 12 years ago. The exact same advice. Lane was getting treated like gold here in Knoxville, being treated like gold. Instead, he makes the stupid decision to go out and coach for USC, who was under NCAA sanctions and all that crap. And he knew it. Goes out there, fails because of that, gets fired on the tarmac, and then he lives in the wilderness for 10 years until he finally got hired by Nick Saban, coach for Misfit Toys or whatever, where he rehabs them, which he's done many coaches. He rehabs him as an offensive coordinator, yells at him for about 2 or 3 years there, humiliates him on the sideline multiple times, which was hilarious, by the way. Hilarious. It was almost as good as being fired on the tarmac. And then he winds up at South Florida for a pittance of what he would have been making at Tennessee. Coaches there for a while, and then he finally gets a good job at Ole Miss. 10 years of making almost nothing compared to what he'd been making at Tennessee during that 10 years. And winds up at Ole Miss with a good job. They treat him like gold. I mean, Ole Miss is treating him like gold, okay? And now he's got an opportunity to go to Florida or wherever he wants. He can go to Penn State, whatever. Let's see what he does. He has made the decision to stay once with Auburn. Now, he went and had an affair with Auburn, which was really stupid. And he took it and he ruined his entire season. They were 8-1. They were 8-1, and then they lost the next 4 ball games because the players were distraught because everybody got word that he was going to Auburn. And then he blamed a reporter for it, which my understanding verbally, he'd agreed. And then I believe his daughter sent him a video that made him feel bad, and he decided to stay, which he should have stayed anyway. So now he's got a decision to make. Here's the one thing I will say. This is at least kind of a step up for him, and he has given Ole Miss several good years. It's not like he did Tennessee, like when he stayed 1 year and left the day before National Signing Day when he stabbed us in the back. So it's not going to be as bad. And Ole Miss could get an Alex Golesh, who I think is a terrific coach, and they've got their money squared away. So I think Ole Miss would be able to rebound from it pretty good. But that's kind of what I would have said to Lane 12 years ago. Exactly what I'm saying to Tony. Tony, if you take this job, when you look back, when you're 65 years old, and you will look back at your life, you're going to say, that's the worst decision I ever made in my life. I was trying to be the first guy that went from college to whatever. The fundamentals underlying that are bad. Okay? They're bad. Everything about it. Your workload's going to triple. You're not going to be in control. You're not going to make any extra money for tripling your workload. You're going to live out of a suitcase. You're going to live out of a hotel for 3/4 of the year. You're not going to be able to have nice vacations. You're not going to be able to have family life. All that's gone for at least 5 years. So forget any of that. That Ferrari you got, you don't think you're going to be able to enjoy it because you're going to be on the road all the time. You're going to be in a plane. You're going to live in a plane. Understand that. And it's not fun to travel all the time for work. Now, if you're traveling to go somewhere on vacation, that's fine. But when you're traveling for work, that's not a great life. So for all those reasons, it's ridiculous for you to leave Tennessee. And I would say this, if you were being treated this way at another college and you won a natty and you're getting paid $3 million a year, it doesn't make any sense. At least the Atlanta Braves, which there was some talk he might go to the Braves, might have made a little bit of sense. Maybe you grew up with watching the Atlanta Braves. I don't know. But I still don't think that would have been a good decision. I just don't. A college life for a coach in baseball is so much better than playing the major leagues because it's not like the NFL where they're playing 17 games and it's over. No, 160 plus games. And that's if you make the playoffs, that even is more. You might be at 180. What kind of life is that? That's a great life if you're 21 years old and you're in the major leagues and you're thrilled, and you're a kid and it's the greatest thing in the world and you're getting paid tons of money. I get that part of it. But the manager position, unless that's your only option, maybe you're in the minors otherwise, it's not a good choice. Not when you've got $3 million a year coming in and you are the mayor of your town. It's a stupid decision. Now, yeah, if you were in the minor leagues, yeah, this is a great move for you. Go to the majors, go do it for 5 or 10 years, then you can retire and, do what you want to do. But this is a terrible decision. So that's my position on it. I've been wanting to say this for a while, but this is my Lane Kiffin moment. I was like, if I'd have been doing YouTube when Lane Kiffin pulled this is exactly what I would have said to him. Said, you're crazy if you go to USC. You've lost your mind. The NCAA sanctions are going to kick you in the butt. But I wouldn't. So, Rolling Coconut, thank you. I appreciate that, buddy. STJ to 37,000. I don't even know how many subs I have. I have not looked at that in a while. It's got to be somewhere around there. Thanks to you folks. I want to see what else we got in here. What y'all are saying. Boy, I went on a diatribe right there. I got on my soapbox, folks. I don't want Tony to leave, but I don't want him to leave for his own good. I mean, this is just a terrible, terrible decision. It really is. I'm glad he's still there right now. The longer this goes, the less likely it will be for him to leave. But that's why I wanted to go live, because I knew this was coming out. I knew this. I was going to pretty much lay it on the line. Well, I think this is such a bad decision. And Tony's a good guy. Look, everybody loves Tony. Okay, don't get it twisted. I'm not sitting here ripping the guy. Plus, he hadn't left yet. But if he makes this decision, it's incredibly stupid. He will regret it, and he will always regret it. So, now this isn't Kentucky. This is more Ole Miss color, isn't it? Well, it got cold yesterday, and it's a little bit cold in this room, so that's why I put it on. It's not Kentucky blue. I'm okay with Kentucky. I don't have a real big problem. I don't like their basketball team a ton because they're good. They're really good. But their football team doesn't bother me. We play them every year, and what is it? Nick Roush goes nuts and has him a nice rant, which is hilarious. He's the best ranter in college football. Nick Roush is the best ranter in college football. That's the truth. I mean, that's a heck of a thing to say, because I study rants. I love a good rant. Sometimes your boy STJ goes on a rant, just like I did. I got to have something to drink after that. Getting dry there. I'm passionate about this decision. I think it's just an awful one. Let's see. Don't call him that name. That's not nice. Kentucky Blue Ball Chant's terrible. I'm not even going to pull that up. Not even going to pull that up. He was making fun of Nick by using another word. No, Nick's a good dude. I think Nick's funny. I think he's very entertaining, and I like Kentucky Sports Radio. Those guys are great. They do a great job. And I like that they're the thing about YouTube is, just to spend a moment on YouTube, if you watch these folks on this platform, they will tell you the truth. They're not giving you the company line. Like if you watch ESPN, they're going to wear their suit and tie, and they're going to say the proper things, and they're never going to, get off target. But on YouTube, you get the truth. I mean, you do. And Kentucky Sports Radio, they tell you the truth. I mean, if their team loses, they're distraught, and they tell you their team sucks and all this. And then if they win, they're thrilled, and they're just, we're the best in the world and all that. And I like all that. I like that emotional honesty, and you see it all the time. You really do. You see it all the time on YouTube, which makes for great viewing. And I think that's why YouTube has exploded, especially, even in sports, which is a niche. It's it's really taken off because people love authenticity and people telling you exactly what they think. And I can tell you right now, I'm being as authentic as I can be about this stuff, because the Tony V thing ticks me off. It doesn't make any sense. The Lane Kiffin thing, I'm still mad about that from 12 years ago. I might get over it someday. Yeah, I probably will. And the Tony thing, I might not. I might not if he leaves. I might stay mad at him for 12 years. I just hate it for him if he does it, because I don't think he's looking at this correctly. He needs somebody to sit down with him and say, have you really thought this through? Have you really? NIL money to baseball. I would say that Twisted Tennessee, your avatar is brutal, man. Anyway, I'm sure it's up in the top 10 easily in the top 10, which it's hard to spend a ton of money on baseball. We used to, in baseball, they only had 17 scholarships. See, people want to know why Vanderbilt was so good at baseball. And there's a secret to why they were so good. because they're a private school, they could give scholarships any number they wanted. You know, like everybody on their team can be a full ride. In every other team in the SEC, they only had 17. I believe it was 17. So you got 35 guys on the squad. Well, a lot of guys are on partial, whereas Vanderbilt could give somebody a full ride. See, I understand partial scholarships because I was on a partial scholarship on the golf team. The golf team only has 4, or it used to only have 4 scholarships total to go to like 12 guys. And then you usually had 2 walk-ons. So everybody pretty much was on a partial scholarship on the golf team, because if you gave one guy a full ride, well, you only got 3 left for 11 dudes. And all of us could play. You know, we didn't have any hackers on the team, believe that. All of us were, you know, probably the best in our county or whatever. So I understand partial scholarships. So if you can give somebody a full ride in baseball, for example, where there's not a ton of money for college sports, there you go. So that gave a huge advantage to Vanderbilt. They don't have that anymore. I think you can do 35 scholarships now with the house settlement. So that's that. Yeah, Mark Stoops. I don't know how much longer Mark. Well, the money, I don't know. Hugh Freeze it's hard to say. Anyway, I've probably ranted long enough. I've been talking for an hour. I needed to talk about the Tony thing. I'm a little bit ticked off. Let me pull up one more time on that so y'all can remember this. Just remember this.
Make the decision. You're either a Vol or you're not, through thick and thin. Make the decision. You're either a Vol or you're not, through thick and thin.
Yeah, Tony. Make the decision. You're either all Vol or you're not. That was a year ago. You're either all Vol or you're not. Anyway, we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay. I've ranted long enough.